This video will give a user of SpecView's older versions an overview of the features in the new version 3. A simpler startup screen shows the last used project. New or other projects are accessed here. Go online directly to the last used project. There are two main areas of change from version 2, and lots of detail changes designed to make SpecView more useful and yet be easier to configure. The major changes in the runtime environment are with the trend charts. This chart is using the new continuous scrolling mode. The version 2 jump scroll mode is still an option. Horizontal and vertical grid lines are now fully user-defined on each chart. Different grid lines may be selected for each pen, and logarithmic scales are available for vacuum readings. It is also possible to use user variables to scale a pen, so that the scaling may be changed without reconfiguring the chart. Notice the scroll handle at the bottom of the chart. If the license includes the historical replay option, the chart can be scrolled back up to 10 screens. The scrollback is limited to 2 screens without the historical replay option. Scales can be added either side of the chart, and the thickness of the traces is also now adjustable. Another new feature is that an area of the chart may now be zoomed in. This operates in real time or in the scrollback mode. Select the area, zoom and pause. To return to the normal chart, click on the chart and select back. Also shown here is how a trace can be made to blink and/or change color when a trigger is set in the process. Another function of selecting an area of the chart is that the range can be exported to a CSV file. Notes can be added to a chart at any time. Click on the chart, select Add Chart Note. Any comment you want to make? Associate it with a pen. Click OK. This note becomes part of the permanent record. Optionally, a password can be required to add a note. This is often a requirement in NADCAP and pharmaceutical applications. An important new feature for batch reporting is the ability to add notes to the chart automatically. Triggers can be used to add notes based on process conditions. It is a common requirement to record the time that a process spends in a particular state, such as a soak time. The time between specific notes can be added. In a moment we will see how the time spent in the soak step is shown and recorded. Printing is another area that has been greatly enhanced. Click on the chart to display the menu. Select the Print Chart menu. This command will send the whole screen to the printer. This sends the whole screen to a JPEG file. And this, an important new feature, sends just the chart to the JPEG file, and it will be printed full screen. Many times SpecView has been asked for a printout or JPEG that shows the whole process. Since many processes are of varying times, this was a problem. In version 3 there is an option to have the chart not scroll at all. At the beginning of a batch, the chart is cleared and starts on the left. Notice the elapsed time scale at the bottom of the chart. The chart is cleared and is now scrolling on a 30-second time base. When it gets to the right-hand end, the time base will be increased. At the end of the batch, the chart or screen is printed to paper and/or a JPEG file. This is the JPEG file from the batch just completed. If it is required to have a chart for the whole process, this feature does the job. SpecView's version 3 chart features make it a very comprehensive batch reporting tool. And one last option. Click on the chart, set up chart. There's a mode to display the chart vertically for those nostalgic for paper recorders. More details on the setup and use of charts are available in videos linked to on the website. A completely new feature in SpecView is position dynamics. This allows for simple animations of objects on a screen. An object can be selected and moved between points based upon the value of a variable. Multiple locations can be selected so objects can follow a path. Other detail enhancements include optional prompts on buttons. Are you sure you want to reset the program? Data entry boxes are now resizable and will remember their position. The password system can now be set to start at level 1 instead of fully locked, so no initial login is required when using that option. When developing a project, it is not uncommon to find that certain parameters have been left off the screen and quick access to them is required. Go to the View menu and select Show Quick List. This list can be customized on the fly and it stays on top of all screens. More on that when we discuss edit mode, which we will do now. In version 2 it was, to put it mildly, annoying that going into configuration mode took everything offline. Also, it meant that charts would lose their traces. Edit mode is the second major feature that has been changed in version 3. On the File menu, Configuration mode has been replaced by Edit mode Remain Online, Edit mode Go Offline. There are some tasks, like changing communication settings, that can only be done when communications are stopped. However, most of the time, staying online will be selected. One important note: if SpecView is taken offline, when communications are restarted, trend charts are backfilled from logged data so the charts are not lost. Exactly what communication features are enabled is managed by the Online Features menu. At the right end of the toolbar there are two new tools. Q accesses the quick list, which was briefly discussed earlier. This is a powerful feature and is very useful for diagnostics. To add items to the list, click in the Variables list to find what you want and drag it to the quick list. Multiple lists can be saved, reloaded, and values can be sent to the controller. This can be considered as a secondary recipe system. In some situations, it can be used as a clone instrument tool. The T opens the template list. This replaces the Show New side of the old variables list. Setting or editing communications is easier, with separate boxes for the optional parameters. This is also where you can assign instruments to groups. The V opens the variables list. This is a major improvement over the old list. User variables have been moved to a group of their own, and the SpecView prefix has been eliminated. There is now a grouping feature. Machines that use multiple instruments or instrument views can have those items in a single group. This makes it much easier to manage the list. Expanding the list shows more new features. When in online edit mode, live values are shown in the list. The columns indicate whether a parameter is logged, has been marked for alarm, is included in the shortlist, and whether it's read-only. In version 3, writable parameters can be marked read-only by the user. The list is very flexible, and the options menu allow to set up how it looks. For example, shortlist mode is accessed off that menu. The list can be sorted three ways: the default list, up and down. Parameters can be selected and renamed in place as in any normal Windows list. In addition, off the Options menu, items can be searched for and also replaced. This is especially useful when changing something like a TCP/IP address. This can now be accomplished in one pass rather than editing each individual instrument. On the Options menu, what name to include is selected here. Variables can be added to the GDW in the same way as before by double-clicking. However, the better way is to just drag it where you want. To put large numbers of variables on a GDW is much easier than before. Using either the Shift key for range select or the Control key for multi-select, choose the variables. Drag them onto the screen, and they get grouped in a special box. Click on the large handles here, and the variables can be auto-arranged, snapping to the grid. Click on the group, and it will revert to the normal grouping. Cursor keys can now be used to move objects on the screen. Pressing the Shift key, and the object will move one grid position at a time. Without the Shift key, it is 1 pixel. The grid is easier to control as well. Control G toggles between 3 different settings and off, so changing the grid while you are editing is much easier than before. Another improved feature is color dynamics. Consider this table of on and off settings. With everything one color, it can be hard to see what is what. To make each value change color when on or off was possible in version 2, but took a long time. In version 3, when a variable is selected for color dynamics, SpecView knows that you probably want to change the color based upon the value of the parameter it's associated with. The variable is pre-selected. This does speed up the process significantly. With a table like this, it gets much better. Select the whole table, edit Color Dynamics. The variable is replaced by the value, meaning the variable that each is associated with will be used. Select the color, for the second dynamic, we're going to tell it to use by the value. Click OK, and all the color dynamics have been added in one pass. This is a great time saving over version 2. In conclusion, SpecView version 3 brings a lot of new functionality, yet it is even easier to use. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call.